Hey everybody, it is I, Mr. Skids, and welcome back to Speed Reviews. Now, these are videos that I haven't done in a long time because I just couldn't figure out the formula I wanted to go with these videos because I didn't think that they were fast enough. They still took a lot of time. But now I think I have the idea of what I want to do with these things, and I want to be able to get them down quicker and faster than reviews and just overall speed up the process of my channel. So that means that most of these videos are going to be really quick and they're going to be very formulaic. Instead of having a lot of comedy to them, they are going to be more down to business and understanding the idea of why I'm reviewing this and the fundamentals of the thing that I am reviewing. So from now on, I'm going to be doing the thing that I started with speed reviews before, where I have 5 points of interest that I want to talk about, as well as some side things at the end of these 5 points that stuck out in my mind. Now, Dr.Stone is a post-apocalyptic world far different from your average Fallout series or anything like that. A mysterious light flashes across the entirety of the world and turns everybody into stone, leaving everybody a statue. Over 3,000 years later, a boy named Senku is finally freed from his stony prison. He is a genius with the IQ of Albert Einstein and probably Stephen Hawking. Not only was he able to figure out what cured his petrification and replicate it, but his mind was also active during that 3-century time period. Able to comprehend deep thought even during nothing but blackness. Able to count the days, the hours, and even the minutes that ticked by during his imprisonment. Now, figuring out what freed him was only half the battle. Now, the story probably should have ended there if not for a chance encounter with some lions later on that caused some problems, which made Senku and his buddies have to free the world's apparently greatest fighter. Unfortunately for them, this guy might as well be the second coming of Hitler. But instead of hating old Jews, he actually just hates old people. So it is up to Senku to stop this Neanderthal boy from destroying the entire planet with his new age of thinking, and use science to beat brawn. So let's start with the 5 points of this show. Number 1, story and plot. I have to say that this story is pretty unique, especially for a Shonen Jump anime. Instead of two brawny guys punching each other in the face really hard, we have one guy that's super intelligent that has to use science and technology to further his goals, while the other guy is stupid. I say that with all the respect that I can give this kid. He's not stupid. He's very intelligent, but he uses very cruel and very brutish methods to get his way. However, even though it is an interesting idea, the plot itself has some really basic concepts. And I mean, when I say basic, I mean rudimentary story elements. Oftentimes in TV shows and movies, these things are called plot devices. Usually a good writer knows how to shadow these plot devices without having to make them look like plot devices. Dr. Stone doesn't do that very well. Oftentimes I found myself finding somebody that somehow knew the exact thing that Senku needed just when he needs him. Or they randomly find a piece of stone that happens to have a mineral that they needed right at that time. It kinda takes away from the story quite a bit. There's too many devices for me to really get a hold of this story without rolling my eyes half the time. Number 2, pacing. The pacing is okay. Nothing seems to go too fast or really too slow. We're given just the right amount of context with the right amount of screen time. The humor doesn't change the pacing at all. We're just given exactly what we needed right when we need it. It's not bad. I can't take away anything from the pacing. Animation and art. Again, we're given a lot of basic stuff, but nothing outstanding. There's a lot of standstill shots from the manga that were used, which is a nice touch, but overall, an animation adaptation is supposed to be animated, so seeing everybody frozen constantly all the time does take away from the art itself. That's not to say that there aren't some really cool scenes in the show. There's some extravagant ideas used for the concept of minerals or items or science that shows kids how interesting these things are instead of just using basic knowledge like in school. Take, for instance, tungsten, which is is one of the world's strongest metals. And to show that it is one of the strongest metals, Dr. Stone makes it into Godzilla, or at least a depiction of it. Now these are interesting. I like these. They give the anime a bit more of a pizzazzy feel to it without being too boring, since it uses science a lot to actually explain what they're doing. Yes, that's right. They actually use real life science to do things in this show. You also got the atypical visual humor for anime where overreactions are used to explain most of the humor, but that's not bad. I actually found myself enjoying those parts the most when it came to this show. Number 4, characters and acting. The acting itself isn't bad. I'm not a native speaker of Japanese, so I can't exactly say that the nuance is there, but I know emotion well enough from people's voices that I can understand how it's portrayed. So overall, the characters don't sound bad. Each voice sounds good for their characters, even if they're a bit whiny at times. As for the characters themselves, they're okay. Again, kind of okay and basic at best. They do actually have some depth to them, but they're shallow depth. You get up to about your knees when it comes to these characters, and that's about it. They have some underlying things behind them, but other than that, no, you're not gonna get anything like Mob Psycho where the characters are as deep as the ocean. But as I said before, I do enjoy some of the characters, so I can't say they're actually bad. There's a couple characters that have a little more depth to them, like the villain, but again, overall, you really can't say that they're the most intriguing people. And number 5, sound design and music. The first intro song is probably the catchiest song of all, but other than that, none of the songs really catch my attention. As for the sound design, I can't fault it at all. Again, it's just mediocre. I didn't have anything spectacular to say about it, nor anything bad to say about it. The sounds are just there. So with those points down, was there anything that stuck with me? I guess the science, really. There actually is learning here. They even teach you how to make black powder after actually giving you a warning not to make it, but that was interesting nonetheless. So yeah, the science, it's actually really cool. Understanding our natural world is a pretty neat concept, especially when you're using science to battle the big bad in your TV show. And I guess there's a few moral lessons here and there. Like I said, it goes more into depth with the characters with these lessons, but other than that, they're not very strong, not very staying, kind of bland. And that's unfortunately the entirety of the show for me. I've watched some really good things in my time. I've watched JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Mob Psycho 100. I've watched some of the most spectacular anime and TV shows in my time. This show just comes off as weak, especially after hearing how the manga is so much better apparently by readers. Yeah, that just comes as disappointing to me. As a final thought, I would say you're better off reading the manga. You'll have a much better time with it, and the characters are more in depth there than here. I really don't want to rip this show apart as much as I have today. But what is better? Being a bad show or being a mediocre, forgettable show? I've watched a lot of bad stuff too in my time, and it's absolutely hilarious going back to it. Here, I kind of mostly forgot how we even got to the end of the first season. So yeah, I'm sorry for you Dr. Stone fans. Really, I am. It is what it is. If you really want to go watch it, I'm not gonna stop you. That is just my thoughts on the matter. Hopefully, I'll get to doing more speed reviews here soon. Thank you guys for joining me. Hopefully you enjoy the rest of your evening. Take care, everyone.
Boom, this is Mr. Skids.